Hello, I'm Theodore Henry. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. So many positive things are happening in our country. NHT is offering more money to persons wishing to purchase homes on the open market. Legislation is being put in place to combat crime, and garbage trucks are being acquired to keep the environment clean. Jamaica is moving on up, and we could talk till tomorrow. But instead, here's 30 minutes of what you need to know about the thriving banana industry, Jamaica Festival Song Competition through the years, and important news you can use. Keep watching for the details.
Only a few days left as the clock ticks down to the final hour. If you've not done it yet, do it now. Register for the upcoming Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference, which will take place at the Jamaica Conference Center from July 23 to 26. Contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for details. Among the highlights this year is the Marketplace Exposition, where transactions can be made and networking opportunities are provided. Discussions over the period will focus on partnership and investment opportunities for the diaspora in health services, agriculture, education, the creative industries, and security. Opportunities in the micro, small, and medium-sized business and social business enterprises will be explored. Come prepared to hear about Mediganja and the nutraceutical industry. Discussion topics will also highlight the transfer of technology, research, and models of international best practices from diaspora locations to Jamaica, and the challenges and opportunities in host countries of members of the diaspora. Don't miss this opportunity to further strengthen our partnership for mutual growth and development. It's the Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference from July 23 to 26 at the Jamaica Conference Center.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, July 20. Jamaica now ranks number 1 in the Caribbean region on the Global Cybersecurity Index. The ranking was revealed in a report from a 2016 survey produced by the International Telecommunication Union, ITU. Jamaica was among 134 member states which responded to questions based on the core areas of the ITU's Global Cybersecurity Agenda. Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley has welcomed the positive, but says there is still a lot more work to be done. He says government, through the Cyber Incident Response Team, continues to strengthen the cybersecurity responsiveness while boosting its public education program. The minister says there is room for capacity building and cooperation between the public and private sector, but assures that government remains committed to meeting all international standards and best practices. The Jamaica Bauxite Institute, JBI, is to receive $223 million in budgetary support for the 2017-2018 financial year.
This figure of $223 million being requested represents 86% of the $259 million required for operating expenses and capital expenditure in 2017-18.
The disbursement to the JBI will come from a $715 million drawdown from the Capital Development Fund, which was approved by the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The largest portion of that amount, $487 million, will be used to reimburse the Jamaica Bauxite Mining Company for advanced payments it made to Glencore AG on behalf of the government.
Cabinet, by way of decision dated May 20, 2013, approved the repayment of obligations to Glencore of United States $33.8 million plus interest through authorized withdrawal orders from the CDF, and a one-off payment by the Jamaica Bauxite Mining of $4 million US.
The Capital Development Fund is comprised of proceeds from the bauxite production levy. The tourism sector has recorded a 14.9% increase in stopover arrivals for the first 2 weeks of July when compared to the same period last year.
July is trending to be a whopper. And at 14.9 halfway through, and some fests this weekend, and a number of other events leading up to Jamaica 55, the Diaspora Conference, you could very well see that July is going to take you closer to 20%, and that would be phenomenal.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett was addressing yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing. He says that even if 20% was not achieved for the first 4 months of the fiscal year, the final figure would still be phenomenal.
April we grew by 10%, a little over 10%. May, we grew by 8.7%. June just finished, we grew by 10.8%. And this July, we are definitely in double digits and will be growing in excess of that. So that for the 4 months, we'll be averaging over 10% growth.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says work will start soon to improve critical areas at the Port Antonio Hospital and Buff Bay District Health Center. During a recent tour of the facilities, the minister said instruction had already been given to the Regional Health Authority to do the necessary pre-construction work for a post-surgery recovery area at the Port Antonio Hospital. The diagnostics capabilities at the hospital is also to be enhanced.
For all cases, more often than not, trauma as well as lifestyle-related diseases require some diagnostics as part of the assessment of the case for appropriate treatment. The diagnostic area requires some upgrading, and so one of the things I'm going to be doing is looking at how we can enhance the diagnostic area.
Minister Tufton says resources have already been made available through the Chase Fund for a new piece of diagnostic equipment. Refurbishing is underway on a diagnostic room that will house the equipment, while the ambulance service and road to the facility are also receiving attention. The Buff Bay Community Hospital will also be upgraded to provide extended primary and some secondary care services,
which will provide services which include maternity care, pharmacy, lab, dental, and so on.
Work will also be done on the perimeter fence and derelict buildings that are to be removed. Government is welcoming new investment in the fresh produce market through the Caribbean Broilers Group, which has launched its new company, Imagination Farms.
I believe that it is through planning and preparation that you're really going to experience the results that you seek. What we are witnessing here tonight has not taken place just over a year or two. It has been planned carefully over the years.
The Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries says more science needs to be included in agriculture so that more investors can be encouraged to be a part of the sector.
We had a hard time convincing people that agriculture was a very lucrative industry and sector. Today, it's made a lot easier because of the imperatives of knowing that we must produce enough for our requirements and more in order to export what we produce and earn foreign exchange.
Imagination Farms' line of onions, sweet corn and Scotch bonnet peppers is expected to be in supermarkets by August 2017. And finally, following its Caribbean Market Mission initiative to boost regional export, Jamaica's Trade and Investment Promotions Agency, JAMPRO, is this week hosting a trade mission out of Cuba. The Cuban delegation, representing 10 organizations, has been on the island since Monday and will continue business meetings until Friday. The trade mission is a result of JAMPRO's Cuban Market Development Program. It includes representatives from Cuban state agencies such as the National Bank of Cuba, the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Investment, and Ministry of Domestic Trade, as well as the Chamber of Commerce of Cuba and other key enterprises. During the discussions, Jamaican companies are being promoted for an opportunity to export their products to Cuba. The Cuban representatives are also touring Jamaican companies to understand the country's capacity for manufacturing and ability to meet the demand of the Cuban market, which has a population of 11 million. And that's it for GIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The phrase down but not out can best describe the country's banana industry. Despite the negative impacts of hurricanes and diseases, the sector has been making remarkable improvements with support from the government and the European Union. We document the journey. Take a look.
As early as the 1800s, Jamaica enjoyed a robust banana industry, and by 1866, the country began its export trade of the fruit. It was one of the top export produce and drivers of foreign exchange for the country. For years, the country and farmers alike enjoyed the success which saw up to 70,000 tons of banana being exported in 1993. But in the midst of this achievement were great challenges. The sector grappled with varying diseases and frequent storms and hurricanes like Gilbert in 1988 and Charlie in 1951. The banana industry also had to face trade liberalization, falling prices, and low competitiveness. This triggered a gradual decrease in export. The final blow to the banana industry and to the livelihoods of many farmers was the passing of Hurricane Dean and Tropical Storm Gustav in 2007 and 2008. During this time, export fell to its lowest level. Some 800 jobs were lost, with the closure of an estate in St. Thomas by a major stakeholder. Eventually in 2008, the export of bananas stopped. With the support of the European Union, a long-standing partner, which provided funding, the government of Jamaica implemented programs to revive the banana sector. Between 2009 and 2011, priority was given to strengthening the technical and administrative support teams of the Banana Board. And it was during this period that the EU Banana Support Program was established. Funding to support the undertakings amounted to over 116 million Jamaican dollars by the government, as well as over 677,000 euros by the EU. This strategic approach to revitalize the banana industry would see production picking up and the resumption of export in 2011.
The EU has been a great partner. In fact, it's our largest partner in the government and certainly in the agriculture sector in terms of grant resources. And those resources have helped to support in a very significant way.
European Union has been supporting the banana sector since 1996, so it's not something new, and that commitment is very strong. We recognize the importance of bananas to Jamaican people and Jamaican culture. Unfortunately, the blow to the exports in 2008 has been quite difficult to recover from. So today we are trying to support the Banana Board and the Growers Association and the small producers in order to improve their competitiveness, but also to assist them with technical expertise, to look at a variety of different types of bananas and plantains.
Over the years, the help is more than 40 billion Jamaican dollars. We have benefited tremendously as recovery from risk management, from hurricanes. They provided tremendous help to recover each time when there's a disaster.
The revitalization of the industry saw the implementation of the Jamaica Banana Accompanying Measures JBAM program in 2012. Approximately 1,400 farmers in banana-producing parishes of St. Catherine, St. Thomas, Portland, St. Mary and St. James are targeted under the program. They are introduced to new varieties of the crop, notably the Fia. This type gives 30 to 50% more yield and is good for cooking and producing chips. As the focal point with all Jamaica's international development partners, the PIOJ works with the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, to ensure that the funds provided by the EU support the country's long-term development goals.
What that means is that RADA now provides that technical support. It provides administrative support to the program to ensure that the funds received from the EU are actually spent on time, effectively, and actually do what they are actually designated to be doing. And so far, the project has actually achieved a lot on the ground.
Among the outcomes of the Jamaica Banana Accompanying Measures program are improvements to the Banana Board's laboratories. The research and development labs were outfitted with the latest equipment to carry out testing on disease samples and develop pesticides. The Banana Board is now able to produce a variety of plantlets from their new tissue culture biofactory. The projection is for the board to produce 120,000 tissue culture plantlets. That is to be supplied to participating farmers of the JBAM program per year. The calculated intervention by both the government of Jamaica and the European Union also allowed for the continued operations of the banana breeding station at Bodles in Old Harbour in St. Catherine. The Banana Board currently maintains over 150 varieties of disease-resistant banana plants. Also, JBAM supports the Growers Association through the construction of a $30 million processing plant. This will allow players in the industry to move up the value chain and benefit from the production of banana and plantain chips.
And in the future, they can look at other banana products. So we are actually empowering the growers to be involved further along the value chain, which will provide more profit, more income to the Growers Association.
Farmers also benefit from farm supplies at reasonable rates from stores operated by the All Island Banana Growers Association.
The other thing is the availability. Because of our cash resource, thanks to the EU, we are now in a better position to improve on our inventory. So the availability of input material that is readily available to all farmers. Thirdly, from the assistance given to us, we were able to implement credit programs which our farmers could get assistance to resuscitate their farms and so forth.
The impact of the JBAM program is far-reaching. Not only are the farmers empowered to produce, but they are able to employ workers, thus spreading the financial gains across rural communities. Another advantage to the farmers is that they get the opportunity to acquire the Global Good Agricultural Practices certification. With this international standard, they are able to trade in the export market. The certification exercise is administered under the sub-program of JBAM, called the Banana Export Expansion Program, BEEP. Its main objectives are to increase banana production with international standards, develop the technical and infrastructural support of the industry, and preserve the industry's competitiveness in both the export and domestic markets.
Well, the assistance that I have gotten is tremendous. We have a huge storeroom that we have compartmentalized to facilitate smooth operation and to prevent contamination and to make us more efficient. By ourselves, we would not have been able to.
I've also received over $1.25 million in grant from this program, this BEEP program, and this grant was used as infrastructural development. My farm is now certified as an export farm, so I'm now able to export my own fruit to various overseas countries.
The Banana Board has seen a steady increase in the export of banana and wants to take it further.
Our aim is to increase the overall production by 30%. Last year, we actually did 26%, so we are well on our way.
Export markets currently include the Cayman Islands, Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Looking to the future,
the nature of EU's partnership with Jamaica will mean that we will continue supporting the government and civil society organizations in trying to improve people's lives, and that will be very much also relevant to the agricultural area.
The ministry has been guiding the agricultural sector in terms of growth. We are very proud that the sector has been growing and supporting the Jamaican economy. So our vision is to put the sector in a position through expansion of irrigation, through making available lands with requisite infrastructure, to be able to produce consistently, to tap into a huge tourist market, for export, for import substitution, and in the final analysis that our rural spaces and our rural communities are strong because they depend on agriculture. That's our vision.
We continue our flashback of popular festival songs. This time we highlight the 80s and 90s.
It was also the beginning of a new era in the festival song competition. The foundation was already laid in the 60s and 70s, producing songs that document Jamaica's culture, heritage, and the spirit of the people. But with the 80s and 90s came changes, with some songs having a different sound.
She go, she stop, she go. Hey, I want a woman. I need someone.
The Sing-J started around 80. It's talking over the rhythm. You follow what I'm saying? So it created a whole new thing where the dance different and the whole attitude different. So it was known here as melodic and as sweet as the 60s, 70s.
And there were other changes. In 1994, word came from the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, that the then 29-year-old festival song competition would be renamed the Popular Song Competition. The aim? To represent the music of the day and to somehow cause the music to have appeal beyond the independence period.
The festival song too, if you check a lot of them, had, whenever festival come out, the songs they were kind of like a mental, more jump up feel to it. I guess because they wanted to be celebratory. You have a kind of, you know, so even though Roxy might be on or a slower beat might be on at the time, people still think say during festival you need something for, so you find the artists who enter or the producer tend to inject, in my view, more of a mentor, which is our indigenous music anyway. And then again, because you call it festival song, the shelf life is very limited. A festival song seldom lives after independence. It is used to drum up feelings and excitement up to festival. After that, so sales and things will be gone.
The change also set out to attract younger artists who were into reggae and dancehall and persuade the more established ones to participate.
There was this feeling among them that when you enter festival, they are stigmatized as a festival singer, and so they didn't see themselves entering it. And worst of all, they feared entering, and one of them known a man from the rural parishes, be them. You see, they couldn't live with that, right? So I was saying, no, we have a change the name from festival to popular. It would remove the stigma or lessen the dislike for it.
To the younger artists, however, they saw the festival stage as an opportunity to shine. The name change did not affect the success of the competition, but in 2008, JCDC decided to go back to its original name.
I didn't get the kind of response I thought it would have caused by changing the name and having these more reputed artists entering. It didn't happen. But the public didn't say, well, but years after, they figured the tradition should be maintained. Let's go back to festival song contest.
And though the name brand artist stayed away, three-time winner of the 70s, Eric Donaldson, continued, winning 4 more times in the 80s and 90s, the most of any festival singer to date.
But I am proud to be Jamaican, and I love the island.
Another high point of the festival song competition in the 80s and 90s, it produced the first female winner.
Mr. Give me back my sweet Jamaica, me land of sugar and rum. Give me back my sweet Jamaica, me little island in the sun.
This period also gave rise to the popular Give Thanks and Praise artist Roy Rayon. He took home the top prize 4 times.
So give thanks and praises, we are still alive. Going walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we survive.
It was a joyous time for Jamaicans all over. We were proud, it had meaning, it had substance, and you were very proud as a Jamaican to sing that song.
My first time I entered would have been 1980. And it's not true that every time Roy Rayon entered, he won, not true. I've won some second prizes, but they don't count. The top prize is what is most important.
Other multiple winners included the Astronauts and Stanley Beckford with 3 each. Contributing to the success of the 80s and 90s were the road shows.
because our songs really and truly, they got exposure, great exposure. You were going island-wide doing 14 shows. The songs were, one song, each song was playing like 3-4 times, 5, could be up to 6 times per day. That's the sort of rotation for up to 6 weeks. So so you monitor that. You don't care if you didn't like a song. Everybody knew every song.
Over the years, the JCDC has ensured that the festival song competition continues to produce memorable celebratory songs, creating a kind of hypnotism that draws people to the finals year after year to support their favorites.
So I've kept it going from 63 or 66 till now. First of all, a major achievement. And I think it's a flagship item on the JCDC's showcasing of our culture each year.
All nations have them sensation, and every nation have them adoration. This is the time for a happy meditation. Nobody of us enjoy the celebration, yeah. Mama, daddy, auntie, daughter, and youth man, enjoy yourself in your homeland a little more.
Only a few days left as the clock ticks down to the final hour. If you've not done it yet, do it now. Register for the upcoming Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference, which will take place at the Jamaica Conference Center from July 23 to 26. Contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for details. Among the highlights this year is the Marketplace Exposition, where transactions can be made and networking opportunities are provided. Discussions over the period will focus on partnership and investment opportunities for the diaspora in health services, agriculture, education, the creative industries, and security. Opportunities in the micro, small, and medium-sized business and social business enterprises will be explored. Come prepared to hear about Mediganja and the nutraceutical industry. Discussion topics will also highlight the transfer of technology, research, and models of international best practices from diaspora locations to Jamaica, and the challenges and opportunities in host countries of members of the diaspora. Don't miss this opportunity to further strengthen our partnership for mutual growth and development. It's the Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference from July 23 to 26 at the Jamaica Conference Center.
We have come to the end of our show and the right time to remind you that Jamaica 55 celebrations kick off on July 29 with the opening of the Independence Village at the National Stadium, free of cost. If you want more excitement, then you can pay $1,000 to attend the nightly events next door at the National Arena. And just so you know, the big concert's standing ovation is also on the 29th. Go out and have some fun. You deserve it. We'll have another program for you tomorrow, but until then, click on our website, jis.gov.jm to stay connected. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.